Hey, hey.
Greetings. How's the audio?
I don't know if you can tell. I can tell ever since that mic, you sound like the next Red Velvet,
Good.
speaker.
Are you going to display the slides?
Oh no, I thought you were since you were gonna kind of lead it.
Okay.
Can you click it for us? I'll give you control. Just because too, you have your formatting down. I don't want to mess it up from my side. The deck looks great, Bill.
Good. And you're seeing this?
Yes, I see it right now.
Okay.
Yep. All right, we got Bob Dudek in the waiting room. We get some folks coming in.
Now let me ask you a question. How will you just want me to move the slides for you?
Yeah. Yeah. And what I'm going to do after this today, because this is recording right now,
Yeah.
I'm going to edit it a little bit on the front end to carve it out. I'll upload it to YouTube and have a private link, and then we'll send it out to everybody.
Cool.
So I guess I'll start letting people in. And is that cool with the flow? We'll kind of do intros and then you run with it?
Yeah. You'll take it at theme 3.
Yep. All right. Let's do this. Hello. Thanks for joining us. We're just going to wait a few more minutes for other registrants to arrive, and then we'll get started. This is just so you know, if you're listening, this is recorded, so we will send you a recording later today from this briefing. Give me 1 second. I'm going to shut my door, just mute out some extra sound here. Okay. All right. Why don't we get started? Does that sound good, Bill?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll give a pause and I'll jump. Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you're joining us from today. My name is Bill Walton from Ascend Advisors. Thank you so much for joining us for our executive briefing, using AI and social selling to reach and close prospects faster. Again, my name is Bill Walton. I'm the head of sales and client management. I am joined by my dear partner, James Jacoby, the CEO and founder of Ascend Advisors. This executive briefing is a series of briefings designed to inform you of trends in sales and marketing, digital sales and marketing, to help you accelerate your pipelines, develop your people, and mean more to your customers and clients. We're glad to be with you today. First, a little bit more about Ascend Advisors. Our clients would say we're digital client acquisition authorities on global B2B sales and marketing. Our founder, James Jacoby, who will just introduce himself in a second, is the author of Radical Integrity. And we've been featured in Yahoo Finance Market Watch and other areas talking about digital client acquisition and the use of AI and other supporting technologies to support your sales enablement objectives. Again, my name is Bill Walton. I'm the head of sales. I'm an Amazon bestselling author, and I'm here to join Ascend to help clients learn and grow and equip themselves to engage in a digital transformation that we're all a part of. So I'm glad to be with you. James, it's great to be with you.
Great to be with you too, Bill, and excited for folks joining and those watching. Just remember, we do have a replay link that we'll send you later today, but so excited to get into the meat of this and this topic. Just a little bit about my background. I come from 11 years in a fast growing B2B company that's been on the fastest growing list for probably about 12 years now. I was a top sales leader running markets for a healthcare staffing organization, working with top Fortune 100 insurance, pharma, IT, healthcare, hospitals, companies all around the world. And I started Ascend 4 years ago, and Bill's been with me now for the last 18 months or so. And our interest as former B2B sales executives that still carry the bag, we practice what we preach, and we're always interested in what's the better way to do this mousetrap today. So we're so excited to share with you trends that we've seen, feedback we've received from executives like you, and solutions and ideas that we want to present to you on how to address becoming and growing your business digitally.
No, that's great, James. And I'm so glad everyone can join us today, because there is a shift that's happening literally right under our feet as we deliver this briefing. Because every B2B business is becoming a digital business. And this customer engagement, this transformation that's happening digitally, is fundamentally reshaping how we're meeting customers, where they buy, how they want to interact, and how we need to engage as salespeople, no matter what you sell. If you're a financial professional, if you sell insurance, if you sell cement, no matter where you are, we need to fundamentally align with how organizations are buying today. And it's not so much about reacting to something we need to do. There's a lot of opportunity, which we're going to talk about today. This is not bad news at all. This is actually amazing news, because there's never been another opportunity, a better opportunity for sales organizations to connect with their clients and customers more deeply, but also do it more productively. And I think that's where the value is. And again, thanks to the folks at Forrester for this quote and the research that they've done, as they've kind of supported and guided us in terms of what we want to deliver for you today. So the data is very powerful. Let's think about this. I think the theme, right, is really about transformation. And the McKinsey data that's been coming out is so powerful. And what's interesting, we don't have to wait anymore for McKinsey to launch their year-long study. It seems every 3 to 4 months, they're creating some profound research that's impacting all of us. And I thought this, and James, I know you did too, this is really powerful, that 83%, which is almost 85% of senior leaders, engaging customers digitally is producing profound results, and we're not going back. This is too powerful. And another trend is that, hey, organizations are realizing that anywhere between 72% to 80% of their ideal prospects are engaged, not just on LinkedIn, being members, but are engaged in LinkedIn. We're going to talk about that difference today, which is very important. And that's 80% of the leads. Again, thanks to the folks at Brafton Associates. And here's a new factoid. Only 20 to 30% of business-to-business buyers think they'll ever go back to interacting with reps face-to-face post-COVID, whenever that is. Translation, 70% prefer the digital engagement model. So, sounds like some opportunity. What do you think, James?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we're going to have a lot of factoids like this today for you to look at. You may or may not have seen. And that's part of what we're doing in these briefings, is just to bring you to an awareness level of what's happening. It might confirm some things that you're already seeing in your industry and your company, or some things that you didn't see. And we just want to bring it to your attention. So go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, thanks for that. So I just want to share some additional data, not to keep focusing on the work that McKinsey is doing, but this data is really powerful. What we want to share with you is, this isn't about learning how to use LinkedIn better, how to pull forward some of the content that your digital marketing colleagues have created to push that out. And yeah, I got to do that this week. That's not about that. This is about taking your organization, your business, your portfolio, and aligning with your customer journey digitally, because they expect you to. Here's some really powerful data. The outperforming organizations that are interacting and selling digitally, they're doing that in alignment with customer expectations. They've got higher levels of customer interaction through digital channels. Half the revenue is coming through digital channels, which is improving. And 68% of outperformers are combining both traditional and digital channels in their customer journey. So this isn't about abandoning what's worked in terms of traditional selling, traditional platforms. It's about augmenting that and making the right shift in alignment with the customer journey. One of the things that we're realizing, and I think those in procurement and media and other businesses, is that, quote unquote, your buyers are getting younger. Your buyers are more facile with this technology, and we all like speed. So this is, again, about alignment. So again, not to sound punitive, but there's a shift happening. And one of the things we're going to talk today, I'm just going to posit this, is that we're going to make it easier for you to shift and give you some things that you can do to, no matter where you are right now, whether you're a power user of social media and maybe some of these alternative technologies, or whether you're just getting started, we're going to help you get there. So we've got a couple themes for you, in addition to the research. So hopefully we're in the right room, we're on the right Zoom, right? We're talking about how do we grow and harness best practice to grow business and grow business faster. One of the things that I think is wind in our sails, and James, I know you would agree, is that there is a voracious consumption of content. And no doubt the pandemic had something to do with that. And I'm going to give you some data from a client of ours called eMarketer. And I'm going to say this data is low and it's probably a little out of date, but the average adult is spending almost 4 hours on a mobile device. I would say that's a conservative estimate.
Very conservative. My iPhone tells me how much
Yeah.
I spend time on, and it's a lot higher than that.
Yeah, my first number is a 5, and that's about all I'm willing to admit to our audience. So, and it's growing. The total demand for content, though, was kind of why we're here today. And we're going to give you a theme to bring to your leadership if you're not leadership today. The total demand for business-to-business content rose by almost 50% year over year versus this time last year. That's a 50% increase in demand for content. So let me give you another theme. And this consumption increased more than 22% year over year. So got to have the content, the consumption's increasing. And we know that these are averages in terms of how long we're spending on a mobile device. Consumable, the appetite is voracious. One of the things you're going to hear us say, and I'll give you a little goodie ahead of time, is that if you're thinking in kind of processing what James and I are sharing with you, is that you can't have an outreach strategy. You can't have a sales strategy without a content strategy. 12 years ago, we threw our entire sales content, our sales library in the trash, because we knew coming out of the Great Recession, we needed to be value sellers because everyone had put spit and polish on their value proposition, leaned out on their organization, and got really competitive in their space if they survived at all. So everyone had the pill, everyone had the syringe, everyone had the rental car, everyone had the consulting engagement. But what they didn't have were the insights directed towards that particular stakeholder that you're calling on. Well, think about now, those hens have come back to roost. If you want to sell strategically, if you're going after new business, if you're going after important, senior, sophisticated, discriminating clients, they might be ahead of you in terms of a digital journey and what they know and what they're looking for. So in a way, we have to get that treadmill to match speed with this consumption of content. That's the key beyond the data points that I hope you find compelling. The reason is that we need to match speed and get ourselves going. We need to be issue fluent in the issues specific to your clients, what they're consuming, what they're seeing, what they're reading. So again, we'll help you get there. And our buyers, we think about us, right? We always think about, gosh, my screen time is increasing on my smartphone, but buyers are more active in social channels. Hence why James and I built Ascend Advisors around this whole phenomenon. At 84%, almost 85% of the C-suite and VP level buyers are influenced by social media when they're considering a purchase for their organization. Over 90% of these buyers are using social media to engage with industry thought leaders. Hopefully that's you. And research is very powerful, 72%. I would say that's a low number, thanks to International IDC, International Data Corporation. I would bet that number is up to 90% now. Yep. So depending on where you are in your journey, your buyer is active, your buyer, your prospective client, again, no matter where you sit in industry. James, sorry, you had a thought.
Yeah, just as a real example to some of this data that you might resonate with, we'll use two, Facebook and LinkedIn. Facebook first. If you're in any Facebook groups, if your spouse is in some Facebook groups, some are more social based, some are more business focused based. But either way, I would say people are every day soliciting or even recommending, hey, who do you know for, a cleaning service, or who do you know for a great marketing that can do this kind of thing? And that recommendation is like wildfire on Facebook, because as soon as a business's name gets thrown out as a recommendation, that person or that company is getting DMs, direct messages like this. And there's instant sales, there's instant sales calls. It's just like, it's incredible how the power of social media as a recommendation to your business, there's cheerleaders on there for you. It literally eliminates the sales cycle. It's just like, here you go, here's a sale, and the same thing on LinkedIn. We're seeing it all the time. and our assumptions, our assumptions have been blown to waste with what we're seeing here from what we knew as old school B2B sales, which is stuff like, hey, if I want to talk to a CFO, right, at a hospital or an insurance company, and traditionally, even from all the sales books that we've all read, right, it's all these different things you got to do. You got to get to the gatekeeper, you got to write them a letter, you got to send a VIP note, you got to make some cold calls, you got to do like all these things, right? The last thing we think they would be willing to do is be willing to engage directly and quickly on a LinkedIn private message. And we have proven again and again how wrong we were on the different kinds of executives that are actively using LinkedIn to have incredibly quick, meaningful discussions that directly go to a sale, that go directly to an offline board meeting with their team and you on your solution or idea. So it's been profound to see the shift just in the last year from the force of the pandemic, and really creating our world into a business remote environment.
I think it's also important, as we kind of not just throw facts at you, but interpret them and talk about implications, is, what are these individuals actually looking at? They're not only looking at the thing, your product, specifications, dimensions, they're also looking at engagement. What is the consuming public saying about your solution? What is the consuming public saying about a trend? If you've been on LinkedIn in the last few weeks, you've seen, I would just say, a cascade of polls. The polling function is very powerful. On the one hand, gosh, with every thumb roll, I feel like I'm getting another poll. But on the other hand, when it's really interesting, a poll is an opportunity to not just have you click on another button, but also to have a point of view. And what the smart buyers are doing is they're looking at your point of view, not just the thing. So just like in traditional value selling and social channels, you have to sell the verb, not the noun. Mm-hmm. Because they've got the noun. They're not buying the noun. They're not buying the thing. They're buying the vehicle to the thing. They're buying the aspiration. They're buying the pathway. They're buying an element to getting to a higher mind or a greater productivity or profitability. So those are some things to think about. And James, you've been sharing this data with me. I mean, just kind of where digital business models are. Maybe you can talk to our audience today about some of the research we found and what the implications of that are.
Yeah, I want to show you guys two quick data points here, slides on digital acquisition and also generational usage. So this slide is really focusing on the effectiveness of new sales with a digital model. And there's a lot of noise on here. But what you're seeing is there is a ton of uptick in effectiveness for reaching and serving customers digitally, acquiring and then continuing to serve them digitally. There's this huge uptick. If you look below, you can kind of see the dates there of the timeline. What we're focusing on is the increase of same, somewhat more, and much more. And just in the last, less than a year, there's just been this huge kind of growth curve with effectiveness digitally. So, which would make sense, right? We've gone remote, so you would think that would correlate. And this is really showing you that that's actually happening. Can you go to the next slide?
Sure.
This is the big one. This is like massive. Do we have the right corporate strategy for the next 5 years type slide? The things that we want you to see here is really just the bottom of the circle. Social, these are the different channels for where you can influence your brand awareness, promotion, content marketing, so on and so forth. You'll see all the options on the left of traditional mail, newspaper, traditional media, friends and family. The bottom two are online websites, blogs, reviews, and then social media. Look at the uptick of millennial and Gen Z 18 plus, that they have the highest 39. They have the highest category out of any generation on any medium of usage for online. This is huge. So what we're trying to say here is, if you're not focusing on the millennial and the 18 plus, I'd say, the 18 to 40, with digital strategy, who are now becoming executive leaders in companies. They're the buyers, they're homeowners, they're building families. They are heavily
Spenders. They're spenders.
there's spenders. That's where the money at. I mean, you have your folks that are retiring, of course, but these are the folks that are spending, and they're buying from here. They're using everything and making all their buying decisions on their mobile with digital apps, digital media here. So that has to be a foundational strategy for your business, or you're going to become irrelevant. And that's a big thing that we've seen as a discussion point over the last year, as we keep talking to different size companies, from startups that are just starting here that know this. And because they understand this, they're able to scale and grow very, very quickly because they're focused in the digital offering space, or even the big companies that are realizing, man, we've been around for a while, but unless we make this uncomfortable, massive culture shift, we're going to be left in the dust. And it's difficult. It's difficult for the bigger companies to do this. And that's why digital transformation is such a hot topic these days. It's not easy for the bigger guys, but it's a must. And I just want to show you this slide as proof. This is really happening. So,
and I think too, I want to be mindful of our HR partners out there, right? That our talent acquisition partners, right? As you're looking to bring talent into your organization, you're seeing the same demographic split. It's almost a one-to-one between, use of social media, right, in terms of influencing digital commerce, digital B2B commerce. It's also huge in terms of talent acquisition and what your culture speaks to and how your culture operates, and how it, and not related to the pandemic, but just how we're going to operate, make decisions, the speed at which we're going to make decisions, the speed at which we're going to collaborate and connect and reward and recognize. So this data is, it has a little bit of a date to it, right? So we'll cut the mold off the crust of that bread, but these trends are not going away. And I would just say, James, that kind of leads us into, well, what do we do about it? This is kind of more of a theme. I would say this is more of a rallying cry or an action statement, right? Maybe you can share with our audience, certainly when you came to the realization of the power of AI, no better person to kind of talk about it. Maybe in addition to the data we have here, kind of your thinking, James, as you're our thought leader and our CEO and visionary around AI.
Well, we all have, maybe we still do. It's okay. Be honest if you do, but we all have built, our territory plans, our prospecting lists on a piece of paper, in Excel, in an antiquated CRM. And it's that old productivity of, all right, let's make 100 calls today, or as many as we can, or, let's go. This day we'll do networking. Tomorrow we'll send an email blast out. The next day we'll make 50 calls. It's just the hustle, right? We've been there, done that. But the problem is, because of the digital space we're in today, the digital speed of the market is too fast for us. It's just too fast. It's too fast for us to wrap our arms around as a single producer. It's way too fast. And so we have to look at AI and automation tools that are useful for how we operate, how we like to operate, and that we can use to make us more productive and more efficient. And therefore, AI, there's so much talk about AI in business today, but we are really at Ascend. I feel like we're one of the few that really address the AI and automation from a sales perspective, and how that can be used and harnessed with human capital. And so here's some quick factoids for you, but this is all true. And we'll show you some dynamics of how this works, and what we can look at applications for. But high performing teams are almost 5 times more likely to be using AI than underperforming ones. AI powered platforms take 3 to 5 weeks out of your sales cycle. That is massive. If you do your numbers, you'll know how much money that is. That's a lot of money on the table that you're saving. Speed to acquisition is huge too. Creating practical value for sales teams by automating, augmenting, and supercharging the way they work. Again, that's the whole point, is if you're using the right tools here that we're talking about and pointing to, it's going to allow your producers to have kind of like an octopus almost to their arsenal of, they can do 10 different things at once. They can be 10 times more productive with less time. And it dramatically lowers your overhead cost in the business. It dramatically lowers the burden of administrative work that we know we don't want our top producers are doing. We want them to go make more money, make more sales, do high leverage activities, right? That's what this stuff does. I might go off script in a little bit to show you one example. That's really cool. But and lastly, it's 45% more deal flow increase from using this stuff. So it is huge to use. It's just a matter of having the right tech stack and applied the right way. That's the challenge. And that's where we spend a lot of time, looking at that with our own company and with clients. But lastly, the power to know what you're putting out there is working with your market. If I had this tool today in my old corporate days, I probably would have been 10x in sales than I am now. But we're just guessing. We're guessing when we do pitches. We're guessing when we throw out emails and collateral that we hope we've nailed our value proposition in the market, right? We hope they're like, yeah, that's exactly how we think and feel about our business issue. Well, now we have tools in real time that we send out digitally, and they are measuring the effectiveness of our value propositions in the market. And they will tell us what's good, what's not, and what needs to be changed. So to have that kind of analytical power available for your salespeople and your marketers in your company is huge. It will help it'll help the acceleration of your learning as an organization incredibly faster than what it is today. So that's the big theme here with AI.
Yeah, and just so our audience knows, AI technology, depends on mass sums of data, and luckily in most instances, organizations have that. So that's one. The second thing is that AI gets smarter as it goes along, right? If you might have heard of the term machine learning, once the AI sees interrelationships between trends, between data and the interaction with data, particularly messaging, it starts to learn patterns, and it gets better at predicting patterns, and then the technology gets better, certainly for us in terms of having the right message. And I tell you what, you can't go on LinkedIn and look at the job posting boards and not find digital marketing positions, right? Everyone is looking for that because those folks have been doing what they've been doing for 10 years now, are now in the limelight and providing that relevant content, but also having the gauges and the dials and the meters to tell us kind of what's working, what's resonating, what's of value, and doing that in real time. And having the AI also helps you adjust so you don't have to do it. Now, let's be realistic. What this does not mean is that salespeople don't have to spend less time on prospecting. Because if you know anything about social media and social selling, it's never done. It's constantly evolving. It's always moving. It's always, no pun intended, trending. But what you can do is find out really better ways to engage and better ways to put you and your people out in front more credibly. And we'll talk about that in a second. But James, there's great thoughts on the AI, on AI, and certainly how it relates to sales and marketing. I'm wondering if it's all right, we maybe kind of talk about this new model, because this is kind of what we're helping clients with and where we kind of wanted to go today.
Yeah, and this. I can say this because we've all done this. We've been there. We carried the bag. We know what that old sales model looks like. That's how we have been taught how to sell, and there still is demos today. Don't mistake that. But that comes later. That comes after this new beginning of the relationship, which starts online and it's social. It's a social network that you're building. The easiest way I like to explain the shift for folks that are maybe later in their career and they're wondering how they can apply what they've known all their life in sales to now. In some ways, it's actually not different at all. You just have to shift how you apply what you already know. For example, if you've been used to going to, different networking groups or associations, and you really have spent a lot of time in those places to build a great book of business and contacts, in that way, it's no different than online. You can be very, very intentional online with building a digital, network of very, very specific types of buyers or companies or industries that you want to be associated with. In fact, even better, because of the tools that are out there, and not even just local, but you can connect with anyone in the world that is associated with that type of filtering that you want to work with. So it's applying what you know, but even in a more effective way that's available today. And then to engaging is the huge thing here. And that's, we come from the principle of, a giving hand is always full, and we give first before we get online. And so what we mean by that is we're giving, valued content. We're going on people's profiles that we intentionally want to connect with. I intentionally want to go meet, VP of sales or CEO, founder of tech company YZ. I want to connect with those people. So therefore, I'm going to go on their profile and engage in the content that they're putting out on a weekly basis and saying, I'm watching you. I see you. And by the way, I think it's great. And here's my thoughts on it. I'm going to comment on it and engage with you to start some conversation. And that's the key online. Is it's not pitching, which we've all seen. We see it every day. It's not pitching. It's the right way is to start the conversation. Start the conversation with the right focus, the right messaging, and you can exponentially expedite the sales cycle from having that person be like, whoa, that was a smart question. You seem to know what you're talking about. Oh, let me go check your profile on LinkedIn real quick. Oh, wow, you actually cater to me. Okay, now they just researched you in like 5 minutes or less, which they're going to do anyways. 90% of your buyers are researching you before they meet with you. So they're going to do that anyways. But because you're almost forcing them to think about you, which is smart marketing, they're going to check you out, see that you're relevant, see that you're credible. And now their interest level might have gone from here to here, and saying, I'm willing to probably want to have a conversation with you offline because we need to talk since you know what you're talking about. That's what we're trying to achieve when we say this. But it has to be through this engage, educate, and social network strategy.
Here's the price of admission, though, as you make this shift. Your salespeople, your advisors, your brokers, your intermediaries, anyone who's representing to you or selling someone or selling socially has to have a point of view. They can't just know the product. They can't just wing it. There's no winging it right now in social selling. So that's kind of part of this digital shift is everything's intentional, right? Intentionally who you're calling on,
Yep.
What content you're lining with, what conversation you want to have. This is front loading the sales process, having a hypothesis how you think it's going to go, right? So the power to know is being hurtled to the center. Actually, it's out in front of you. You're designing conversations and designing an engagement strategy based on a likely point of view you think your ideal prospect has. And that's where that intersection of value comes in this Venn diagram. So that's the action statement for everyone on this call today, is that you need to amp up your people's business acumen, their financial acumen, how your solution impacts your customer or client's supply chain, and then how they make decisions internally and how they're evaluating with you and what's happening in the market. You got to know, you have to have a global perspective because that's what you're going to trade on. And that's what accelerates your success through a digital sales process, is this knowledge that you have because you're matching speed on the treadmill and you're having the conversation that the buyer actually wants to have, and they don't have to educate you. When they have to educate you, that's like bug spray, right? I'm turning away from that. No, I don't want to do that. So sorry, a little preachy there. I felt preachy. So James, what are the implications as I get off my stool, my stump?
So where this all points to is that for every salesperson, whether you have 1, 5, 200 or more, every salesperson has to have a content strategy to focus their brand message to their buyer and connect with them that resonates really well. There has to be this increased investment in messaging around client type. What that means is, like Bill said, we can't be pitching product anymore that doesn't work. We have to speak issue fluent, which means we have to be able to speak on the fly. We can jump into any conversation. If our ideal client was there, we could jump into that circle conversation and contribute to the conversation immediately because we already know what they're talking about. We already know what their pains are, or challenges are, things that they're thinking about in their business. We can just jump right into the conversation midstream and start having messaging that aligns with that versus anything about you. And when they see that, they'll be interested in you anyways. Meet the insights, needs of your buyers. Kind of just said that, but that is huge right now. Just think about your email. How many emails do you delete every day? Probably 99% out of 100, right? you only open a few. I don't know about you, but for me, the only emails I open, or is if I have to pay a bill, or if I have a specific headline that is very unique to a situation or problem or solution I'm exploring up here, and I'm interested to learn more. It's very specific. It's very use based. It's not broad, bland, or vanilla, and it's about me, not them. So think about that. And then the last thing is, social selling is a constant effort. Rhythm and cadence win the day. That is what, if you've been in a high performing sales business model to this point, this is where you can benefit and excel a lot, because there is some old school, so to speak, rhythm into a sales organization where you have your sales teams like really dialed in on process. Like, here's what we do every hour. Here's how we operate the business. If you're operating in a very regimented way already today, but you're not have yet leaped to the social digital side, you are going to do far better, because you actually want to apply that same kind of, organized operations into a social strategy. And that has not changed. That is actually what you need to do, is you need to take what you've known and put it into the social strategy stratosphere and start really documenting and organizing your social networks in a systematic way to prospect to. So
James, let's close out with some more firmer recommendations for our audience, right? I mean, and again, I want our audience to know you're working, you're listening and engaging with two guys who still carry the bag. Everything that we have learned, everything that we've recommended that you do, every organization we see doing what's helping them be successful, we are doing and modeling. So I just wanted to say that. But James, let's talk a little about some of the things the folks on this call can do, and maybe we can help them too. But more importantly, some things they should do to kind of get along this kind of digital transformation, migration, this progression that everyone's on.
Sure. So partner with digital marketing. If you're not already doing that, that has to be a priority for your business. If it's just a small team and you're having to do more than one hat, then it might make sense to have that outsourced and have someone that you vet help you with your business. But if you have an internal digital marketing team, they were kind of always like that department that was off in the corner that gave you some stuff once in a while, but now they are essential. And there has to be this jointed, effort to help you guys promote properly online. The timing of content is huge. You want to be consistent. You want to be constant. You want to be omni-channel across all the platforms out there, so people can find you, get to know who you are, and start to talk with you. But content has to be timed and orchestrated. The sales tech. So a lot of folks have, like a HubSpot or a Salesforce or any kind of CRM like that, but we're talking more than that. There has to be some kind of combination of tech, like we're talking about, with maybe AI that can say, listen, I can have an AI tool that if I looked at my selling list of 1,000 people, let's say, and that's the book of business I'm trying to work off of, I can have AI initiate some starter messaging to kick off the conversation, connect with them, and I can pick up some warm, nurtured conversations thanks to the AI tool. That's what we're talking about. CRM, more than that, there needs to be some integrated automation capabilities for the salespeople so that they can get more done in less time. One of the things that I was hinting at before, I was going to maybe go off script here for a second, and I will. But just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, that's very use case based, is if you go to any networking event, trade show, or even virtual online, and let's say you have a branded QR code instead of a business card, say, hey, just scan this, get all my contact information. It's nice to meet you today. I could scan this right now. You guys could scan this, and it would literally send you to a form landing page. You fill out your contact information. So now I have yours. And the moment you send that, one, if you want to just schedule a call with me, it'll open up my calendar right there. You can click on it. We can set up a demo time to talk about you. And I'm also going to send you some of our best content for you on sales and marketing right to your inbox immediately as soon as you click that button. And then in an hour, when you leave your event, we'll voicemail drop into your phone a nice custom voice message from me saying it was great meeting you today, all automated. I have no more follow-up to do. You did the QR code scan, and now I have just saved myself as a salesperson probably 2 to 3 hours of time and follow-up that I don't have to do anymore. It's already in my CRM. So there's got to be more utility to the CRM, and we have some software that does that. But we really want to arm salespeople with efficiency. And the last thing is retention and training and adoption. You need some things that can be friendly, flexible in time, but available for your staff. And everyone's on their phones today. We just went at the beginning. I'll tell you, mine's about double that. But we need ways where we can not only market who we are, but internally we need to have ways we can train and retain and coach. And we have actually a mobile app that we partner with One Huddle on, and that's a training app that drips content into our team, into our clients' team on sales and marketing. But you need some tech stack like this to use and to help your sales force go to this next level of digital. If you're doing it all hand-to-hand combat and manual, you're going to be too slow. So these are just some use cases of how to leverage that and scale it pretty quickly.
That's great, James. I'm wondering now if we have a little bit of time for Q&A, we can open up the chat to see if any of our guests have some questions we can answer for you. It's been wonderful. Gosh, we've spent about 40 minutes already. And that's the key to these executive briefings. We're trying to keep them pithy, short, give you some data to help you make your best decisions, and hopefully position Ascend Advisors as an organization that you can rely upon for the latest insight to keep you on track or steer you in the right direction. So if you had any questions, feel free to put those in chat as we get ready to close out our briefing for today.
And also, if you have any questions or thoughts that came from today, you've had a few emails from us now, feel free to just shoot us a quick email, and we'd be happy to continue the conversation offline. But thank you for watching and attending. We'll have another executive briefing next month. We do these every month, and we invite you to come back, share this with your colleagues, and always appreciate your thought leadership as well on the digital journey that we're all on together. So thanks for attending, everybody.
Thanks for being with us, everybody. Good selling.